This in the top three of my stories that I believe are important that the American people need to deal with. Because as Ms. McKinney, who is, I consider her an expert, she would only say she's an authority, but let me tell you, Julian, you are an expert in this. The reasons could be, like she said at the, before we went into the break, and total testing of our population to see, basically, perhaps maybe there is a Holocaust in the future or a dictatorship in the future, and they want to see how people react to it. That may be a simplistic way to look at it, but it, not the simplistic way that Julian looked at it, but my way of explaining it. But let's get back to some of the things here in the last few minutes that are important. What can you tell us, Julian, about the use of microwave energy on citizens in terms of the existence of such a program and the nuts and bolts of what they do?
Microwave energy is only one aspect of the entire electromagnetic frequency spectrum. Microwaves can be lethal depending upon how they're used. Obviously, in order to achieve appropriate effects on people, they have to be pulsed, because otherwise the individual would be cooked from the inside out. The objective of using microwaves, as opposed to other electromagnetic frequencies, would be to inflict extremes of pain, to cause thermal heating. That's a common complaint, which leaves a hot spot on the skull. And again, primarily just to inflict extremes of pain. I was just wondering, we kind of skipped over or didn't quite complete a preceding topic.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And that was, we were talking about use of the electrical grid throughout the country, the use of microwave towers, the use of devices affixed to poles that are connected to power lines. But what wasn't addressed, or what you haven't mentioned, is also that these weapon systems are used by neighbors surrounding persons who've been singled out as targets of opportunity. And these people...
Are they solicited to do this, or what?
That's something that I've been pondering for quite some time. Again, what I've noticed is there seems to be a predominance of a particular religion that makes it particularly easy for them to cooperate. It's very difficult to advise targeted individuals on how to acquire peace. These frequencies can be blocked or deflected. All of these frequencies I have found, some may contest this, but I have found are vulnerable and are subject to deflection, and the pain can be ameliorated, if not halted altogether. Finding peace by writing to members of Congress or to state legislators might not be the better alternative, because you will be treated as something worthy of the circular basket. Mm-hmm. They just won't intervene. Writing to the various agencies and calling and meeting with them serves no useful purpose either, because they will say there are no laws prohibiting these types of activities. They can't, say, for example, the FBI, and I was given this statement on a number of occasions, there are no laws prohibiting experimentation with these weapon systems. You're talking to the wrong people. So my advice would be to do what you can to secure your premises, because so long as your house is or apartment is being entered, you are susceptible to, in addition to being targeted by electronic weapons, there is the potential for having drugs surreptitiously put in your food, and I'm not exaggerating there.
I had a few targeted individuals that I talked to send me some questions they would like to ask you. And one was, are targeted individuals also broadcast around the country via closed-circuit TV? And what purposes does this serve? I'm fully in the dark on this question, but go ahead.
Okay. I have seen evidence of a closed-circuit TV, and it seems to be some form of major source of entertainment and perhaps instruction for the individuals participating in this harassment. I don't know who runs it. I have seen aspects of it on a large screen TV across the street, on which I saw surveillance films of a TI being harassed, obviously, in an office environment, gang stalked. Shows brain scans and is otherwise a very sophisticated and sleek communications operation. Why would it be used? As I said, either for entertainment, for creating a sense of unity, for identifying persons, TIs, who are to be harassed on the street. I mean, obviously you can't harass someone if you don't know what that person looks like. So it's a means of communicating to the perpetrators, the perps, what a TI looks like.
Okay. Now, before I get to some more, when I put out that call for people to call, I got a couple of emails. People not, a lot of times TIs do not want to go public. They've sent me some emails. I want to get to one in a minute. But one question I have for you is, how can people gather evidence to support their beliefs that this is happening to them? Many people will say, well, it's only a lack of sleep. I mean, you have a sleep disorder. Perhaps there's a problem with your joints. I don't know. It could be anything that the answers are when you suspect you're being targeted. But what kind of evidence do you tell people to gather to support their beliefs that this is actually happening to them?
Well, when you're gathering evidence, obviously you have an objective in mind, and that generally is legal. And what do you want to do with that evidence? There's really nothing you can do with it. But so in the absence of that, the main thing is to try to protect yourself and to alleviate the pain that you're experiencing. Collecting the evidence, if you were to go to, frankly, I strongly recommend that you keep your faculties together and avoid going to see psychiatrists and psychologists, because the pattern that is evolving is that they are highly complicit in these operations. And if you go to a medical doctor, you do not talk about because medical doctors many are also involved.
So basically,
what you do when you see a doctor is that you define your symptoms and get a very clear statement. Well, we can't figure this out. Well, that's a clear indication that it is not endogenous. It's not part of your system. It's not coming from within you. Then obviously something is happening from outside. If they prescribe drugs and yet can't find the etiology, the basis for your disease, don't take those drugs.